my God. Sorry.
Guys, I'm so sorry. There's no instruments tonight. The band canceled, so you just have to listen to us.
Anybody who is here looking for bluegrass, I'm so sorry. This is not a bluegrass.
I hope you wanted to talk about politics. Hey guys, we are so excited to have you here tonight. My name's Marissa.
I'm Emily. We came up with this idea to do this podcast in December, just really looking for somebody to tell us what to do. We're kind of really overwhelmed.
Can you hear us louder?
Up.
Thank you. Thank you for the honesty. Honestly, I appreciate that. Don't yank us around.
We were feeling really overwhelmed in the current political climate and really hoping that some experts would be able to give us like just hard facts on things that we can do to try to contribute to our community, and just kind of came up with this idea to start a podcast. And a few months ago, we were like, what if we just like did it in person? That would be silly. And like, who would show up to that? And this room is kind of blowing our mind right now. So thank you so much for being here.
That's cool.
That's really cool. So thank every single one of you. Thank you. So we have 3 incredible guests who have been on the podcast today, and we can't wait to introduce them.
Cool. So let's bring up our friends.
Let's do it.
All right, we've got Camilla Thompson, we've got Jules Good, and we've got MacKenzie Nicholson. Kenz.
Like scary. Hello. Yeah, let's say get comfy.
So thank you. I was just talking to these guys in the corner, and I was like, thank you for agreeing to do this before we knew if anybody was going to be here, because that was the true kindness. Is we thought this might be us and 3 of our friends, so we thought you guys were going to be the 3 friends.
But it's us and 70 of our friends.
Yes. Yay. So for a lot of folks haven't maybe even heard the podcast yet or have come across us in various ways on the internet. So the premise of the podcast, just if you haven't heard it before, is we're called the One Quick Thing podcast. The goal was give everybody one quick thing that they can incorporate into their daily lives to make their community a better place. I think we've all felt that feeling of overwhelm. And we just want to give achievable things that you can do to make the world a little bit better. So these are some of our amazing guests that we've talked to on the podcast before, and we're excited to have them back with us today. So would love to have each of you guys do a quick intro. Tell us a little bit, not just about like your work and your credentials. That stuff's important too, but tell us a little bit about what your life looks like, what you're doing for fun, and yeah, who you are. Kenz, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. Can everybody hear me okay? Hi, everyone. Hi, I'm Kenz Nicholson. I use she, her pronouns. I happen to do some of this stuff for work, and so you'll find me like interacting with a lot of the policy issues that we are going to talk about today through a work lens, but also through a personal lens, because I'm a human, turns out, and I'm like a multi-issue person who cares about a lot of different things. And so I'm in my work life, I'm the senior director of MomsRising in New Hampshire. MomsRising is a national organization, a grassroots organization dedicated to fighting for moms, and anybody who's ever had a mom or loved a mom or has a belly button. And what that looks like is working on policies that the moms that we work with want to work on. And so typically here in New Hampshire, that's looked recently like things like childcare, paid leave, addressing the pay gap, LGBTQIA plus issues, maternal health, like I could go on, book bans, all the things that we care about, because moms, whole people, who knew? So I've been doing this work since I graduated from UNH with my undergrad degree is in family policy, my master's degree is in public policy, and so I've been doing this ever since about, 15 years now. We don't need to do the math. Don't actually do that math. It doesn't quite work anyways. And along the way, I've worked for amazing organizations. I happen to fall into an organization that really aligns with my values. I'm also a mom of an 8 and a 12-year-old, and we're sort of entering those stages of pre-puberty, which is very scary. So if you have any tips for addressing that, feel free to see me after. I will gladly take any of your, absolutely. We live in Nottingham. I am currently going through a divorce, so there's that. Yeah, shout out to divorce. Also see me after if you want to talk about that. And I was saying to David, one of the friends that I've made on TikTok, is through I don't really know what else to say because this has been a lot of my life lately. Like the issues that we work on are so near and dear to who I am as a person that during after work hours, I'm not entirely sure how to shut off. And so TikTok and this community has been like a way for me to take a little bit of that extra energy that I have and where I want to watch like the John Olivers and the Stephen Colbert's rip of the, of the world. I also am doing this and thinking about, I know it's a lot. So that's a little bit more about me, and I'll kick it over to Jules. Thanks for being here, everyone.
Yay, I'm MacKenzie. Do I go now?
Kill it, let's go.
Let me kick over my water bottle first. That's really good for audio. Hi, I'm Jules Good. I use he and they pronouns. Can people understand me? Okay. I'm not sick, and I'm trying to keep it that way, so that's what's up with the mask. I am short-circuiting. So my full-time job is with the Autistic Self Advocacy Network, which is a national grassroots nonprofit focused on advocating around policy issues that are important to autistic people and people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, of which I am one, and so is everyone else who works there. I have a side business doing accessibility consulting where I've worked with a bunch of orgs and cool people around New Hampshire and around the country, helping them make their spaces and their processes and their practices more accessible and more aligned with the principles of disability justice. And I also do some, in my copious free time, I do some extracurricular advocacy around state level issues, most recently around Medicaid in the New Hampshire state budget, which is work that will continue. In my personal life, let's see, I'm gay,
Yeah, who's looking? Is
I'm
anyone on
hot,
right now?
I'm funny, I'm single. I do musical theater. And
Dorks in here.
yes, anyone who wants to talk musical theater, hit me up. Yep, that's it.
Hi, my name is Camilla Thompson. My paying job, I like to say that I work for the NHPQC for Dartmouth Health. So we're improving maternal health outcomes around the state. My nonprofit work, I am the Black Maternal Health Coordinator for Black Lives Matter New Hampshire. I also sit as the board president for the Reproductive Freedom Fund of New Hampshire. And I also am an abortion doula for the Reproductive Freedom Fund of New Hampshire. So I wear many hats. I myself am just finishing a certification to become a birth doula, so that's very exciting. Hoping to bring back some love and encouragement to the Black community surrounding birth, so that's really exciting. I am a mom of 4 children, 9, 5, 3 today, so shout out to Ava, who really drives me. Ava is 3 today, and I have a 1-year-old. My personal life just at this point is just children, I think, but I'm really driven by my maternal health work, so that's really exciting.
So if you've listened to the podcast, you know that we talk a lot about the current political climate and where we're at now, but we wanted this event to be sort of like how we want to launch into the future. So we want to ask them a bit about what we want to build and what inspires them. So I would like to ask, what is one thing, big or small, that inspires you to fight for the future of this community? And we can start with you, Camilla.
Yeah, my children, 100%. I grew up here in New Hampshire, so I understand what it's like to be, even currently, the one African American in the room, right? And I understand that. It always feels awkward, I'm not gonna lie. It does feel awkward, but this is comfortable to me too. But it also is always like a little reminder that I'm a little different. My hope is that my children won't have to experience that. While it's becoming a little bit more diverse, it's still happening. So I find myself advocating a lot for my children, but I spoke about Ava a little bit briefly. When I first got into my reproductive justice work and advocacy, I was, I think, like 6 months pregnant with my daughter, Ava. And shout out to Josie, who is here tonight, who put me on stage at Ban Off Our Bodies to speak. Yeah, huge pregnant, fighting for the non-overturn of Roe v. Wade while pregnant with my first daughter, which was really powerful. So we know that the healthcare system is not for Black people. We know that it was literally built on our backs. Gynecology was literally built from the slaves of Black women. And so my hope is that I will create a more equitable and just healthcare system for Ava when she decides she wants to be a parent, if she wants to be a parent. So that's what really drives me at this point.
Thanks, Camilla. Jules.
Ooh, it's a great question. Well, not to sound so cheesy, but I think honestly, like looking out and seeing all of the people that are here, and like just knowing how many people there are out in the world who are either like currently working really hard to make positive change or who are interested in doing so and maybe don't know where to start, but like the passion is there. I find that so inspiring because it really does take all of us in like, it can be in like really like formal like ways that take up a lot of time in your life, like us, or it can be just like giving your neighbor a ride to the pharmacy or like referring someone to a community resource. Like all of those little actions actually do make a big difference. And I think, there's a lot of concepts in disability justice. The whole basis of the premise of disability justice was pioneered by queer femmes of color, queer disabled femmes of color. And there is so much wisdom from all kinds of people in the community who are with us, not still with us, that like really paints a clear picture of what we need to be doing to care for each other and not just like survive what's happening now, but also build something better and more resilient for the future. And so I draw a lot of inspiration from that, just knowing that like that knowledge exists and we just have to listen to the people who have been trying to share it for like ever.
That was both great answers. Our kids and the sort of movement that we've sort of started to see building here. And I think I'd like to combine both those answers and say, like, the folks who are in this room, who made tonight possible, who took actions for the first time and doubted whether it meant anything, it moved the needle, whether it was about, a book ban bill or a 15-week abortion ban. I think one of the things that I've gotten really excited about is I've been doing this work for a little while, and I've been working with who a lot of folks might consider like the old guard, right? And many folks who aren't used to doing advocacy or any of this engaging work in a new age of social media, or where we can find connection in places like Auspicious Brewery in person. And this looks different than the work that my colleagues are doing. And I'm so excited about that, because not only is it not boring for all of us, but it means that we can like make genuine connections and friendships and do this work together, because I'm really leaning into this sort of more is more. I think, we grow up in a society where we have this poverty mindset, whether that's about money or attention or likes or views or whatever it is, the budget. But really, we need to be switching our mindset and thinking about what would it look like if we had everything that we needed. And I'm excited to see us grow that together, because I don't want to do it alone. I don't want to do it without any of you. And this has been, like, this moment is the kickstart of something really amazing. So I'm just excited. Thank you.
I think all three of you touched on this idea a little bit of just not just surviving the next phase, but like what are we trying to build longer term, right? And so as all of us in here, we're not just building the next 6 months, we're building, we're investing our futures, like what that looks like. So, as you guys have kind of lanes that you're working in, could you talk a little bit about what does that fantasy future look like for you? Whether it's a few years in advance, 10 years in advance, what are we working towards in your minds? Like, what's the ideal? And like, is there anything that people can do in this room today to start building that future? And that's a little bit different than what we talked about ahead of time. So I'm going to throw it to Kenz because she looks ready.
Nothing like a small question, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just like, how do we fix
existentially?
everything?
What are we doing
What's
here?
the vibe? Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Quick summary on the question again.
But yeah, like what
ADHD.
we're thinking about building to the future.
Okay.
We're thinking about building, past just what's coming right in front of us. What's the ideal, right? Like if we're in charge, if Kenz is in charge, what does this look like?
Yeah.
Alice Wade, Rep. Alice Wade is in the house. I noticed she's been asking on TikTok, like, what bills should we be proposing? Sorry, you're in the middle of a conversation. But like I love that you're asking that. Like what should our laws look like? What aren't we doing? So yeah, what is that ideal world that you guys are all building towards look like?
Yeah, I think it's not my ideal world, right? It's our ideal world and a vision that we're working towards together. And that looks like a lot of different things. I mean, I'd like us to get to a point where our state motto actually means something, live free or die, right? Instead of what we're working towards right now, which is like the and statement or just the last half. Yeah, just die. But I think there's policy issues there, right? There's like better maternal health and better options for housing and childcare, and we're able to raise our families without feeling like the pinch of like, can I afford the groceries or the summer camp, like without weighing those options. I know actually David had posted a TikTok today yesterday, we're talking about the rising cost of utilities and the squeeze of everything that we're feeling right now. Wouldn't it be great if we had a say in where our money went and how we were supported as people, and if the vision that we were working towards was one that benefited all of us, not just the wealthy few. So that's where I'm at. More equality, more equity.
Thank you. I just spilled water down my face in front of 75
Got you
people.
so choked up. I know.
That was beautiful.
Thanks.
It's fine. So, Jules, talk to us a little bit about the future that you're trying to build in your activism.
Okay, so like, I'm gonna focus on one particular thing that I feel like is a niche that I can contribute. Obviously, everyone deserves housing, everyone deserves to have enough food to eat, everyone deserves to feel safe, everyone deserves to get access to healthcare, all of the things, right, that are part of our radical leftist utopia. But the thing that I want to focus on is the ability for people to get the care that they need and want in the setting of their choice. So quick, like, policy history lesson. Medicaid in the United States is only legally required to cover the cost of institutional care, which means care that people receive in hospitals, in assisted living facilities, in nursing homes, right? So places where people are segregated from the rest of their community, where they don't have choice about what guests they have in their home, what they eat on a day-to-day basis, if they can lock their door at night, right? That's the only type of care that's required. There has been a lot of innovation, particularly since the Supreme Court case Olmstead, which kind of set this precedent that separate but equal is not good enough. People should be able to receive care and housing in an integrated community setting. So it's not just disabled people living with other disabled people, it's disabled people living with the whole rest of the community. And now, because of these gargantuan cuts to Medicaid at both the federal and the state level, we're going to see a lot more people being forced into institutional living and care settings because, again, it's not required for the government to provide that same level of care out in the community or in somebody's home. And so the first thing on the chopping block is always these quote-unquote optional services, which are like really the things that allow people to live self-directed, interdependent, fulfilling lives where they have some say in what happens to them. So my ideal future world is a place where everybody, regardless of, you know, what support they may need, regardless of their disability, regardless of, you know, the intersection of multiple marginalizations, is able to receive the care they need in the setting of their choice.
Thanks, Jules.
Your answers are so quick, both of you. I just feel like I'm sitting here, like, still, like, trying to figure out where I'm going here. So, a future that I want to build. So, I think that one of the main things that's really important to me is to try to find a way to bring that statistic that is Black women are 3 times as more likely to experience a maternal or pregnancy-related complication or death. So if we can bring that statistic down, that's important. We know that doulas change the outcome. So hoping to push doulas here in New Hampshire. I actually had a meeting today with DHHS about Medicaid and funding doula services. So fingers crossed, we're pushing that. That was really exciting and really inspiring to be invited to that table. And honestly, to be blunt, a world where if you decide you need an abortion, we can just go get an abortion. I've been listening to the news and reading the news lately, and there was a Black woman in Atlanta who died, and she was on life support, and because of the Trump ban, she was not able to have an abortion. So she had to essentially carry that baby, I think, maybe 20 weeks, maybe 22 weeks, and then they did an emergency C-section, and then they took her off life support. And I remember listening to her parents say, like, you know, either way, they were going to care for their grandchild, but it wasn't their responsibility either. And I felt both hands of that. And it's a tough world. I say this a lot when I talk about my reproductive justice work and my abortion doula work, that I would not be the mom that I am today if I didn't have my abortions, and I swear by that. Those abortions set me up to be the parent to my 4 kids now, and I think everyone deserves that opportunity. So yeah, just a world where equitable healthcare works, where people are seen as their person and not, you know, a number, their skin color. That's what's important to me.
Hell yeah. Thank you, Camilla.
Can I add one thing?
Yeah.
Please do.
One quick thing, if you will.
Oh, that's what the podcast is.
Shameless plug, shameless plug.
All of these things that the 3 of us just discussed, in a big way, rely on our government ceasing the practice of contributing millions and billions of dollars to war and genocide in other countries. There is no true, sustainable, lasting freedom or safety for any of us in this country if we keep enacting and supporting the current genocide in Palestine. And to ignore that, or to say, oh, that's foreign policy, that's not domestic policy, is to ignore the fundamental reality on which these decisions are being made, and on which the priorities of the ruling class are built.
Absolutely. Amen. Thank you for adding that, Jules.
Yeah, in New Hampshire specifically, I was just looking at this today, like all of our congressional representation and our senators have been getting an incredible amount of money from AIPAC. And take a look, and it shows you where people's priorities are. And I think that we all need to be applying pressure where we can. So thank you for making a point to call that out.
Thank you.
Now, let's say there's people in here tonight who have never engaged in the types of activism you guys are leading, right? Where should somebody get started? After the year you guys have had, coming off of everything that you've been doing, what is the most helpful from just kind of normal people who are moving about their lives? Like, how do we best support the work you're doing? Like if we're leaving here tonight, what kind of do you want people to take from this, and what actions can they take?
I actually have an answer ready to go, if it's
Amazing.
okay. So I do a lot of training and technical assistance with younger advocates and with people who are like just getting started in this space. So this is something I think about a lot. And a little like framework that I've come up with that I've shared with lots of folks is this concept of 3-point days. So the 3 points are one for me, which is you, like you're thinking about this in the frame of reference of yourself. But for me, it would be one for me, one for you, one for us. So the one for me is doing something to care for yourself, right? You can't pour from an empty cup. So whether that's, just making sure you brush your teeth twice a day that day, or doing something extra special like getting a spa treatment or getting a sweet little treat on your way home from work, whatever, just something intentionally kind for yourself. So that's one for me. One for you is doing something intentionally kind and thoughtful for someone that you know directly. So friend, relative, spouse, kid, whatever. So that could be something simple, just texting someone you haven't checked in with in a while, like, hey, how's it going? Could be sending a care package, could be Venmoing someone $5 so they can get a sweet little treat on the way home from work. I'm very sweet little treat oriented, as you can tell. But just something that shows intentional, kindness and care for someone in your life. And then one for us is doing something that contributes to a broader movement space that you care about. So that could be making a donation to an organization like BLM or like MomsRising that are doing really incredible work to, fix all the things. It could be just sharing an awareness post on social media from a group whose message you care about. It could be calling, a member of Congress or state representative about something. So doing something to intentionally engage in either direct advocacy or supporting people who are doing direct advocacy. Most days, you're not going to hit all 3 points, and that's okay, but it's a good thing to aim for. And I find that the utility in 3-point days, when you if you journal or whatever, or just make a little notes app on your phone of like, these are the points I did today, whoopee. It's a really good way to cultivate hope. One of my favorite quotes is from abolitionist, author, incredible activist, Mariame Kaba. Someone knows what I'm talking about, which is, hope is a discipline. And it really is. It's really hard right now to stay hopeful. But if you kind of incorporate these little practices into your life, it's not only a great way to kind of get your foot in the door with connecting with more people in your community and connecting to people who are doing work that you care about. It's also a great way to look back and say, wow, maybe I didn't hit every point every day this week, but if I got 10 points over this week, that's 10 cool things that I did that were meaningful to me and to people in my life. So that's my answer.
I love that. You were ready for that one.
Yes.
Yes.
How do you add anything to that? Okay, so when you do your number 3 and you're going to look for something to do, I guess I'll just add on to that. My suggestion would be, you don't have to do it alone. There's so many people who are already out there doing something that you're really passionate about, and you can dive in. If you want to be that person who goes all in, go for it. But there's an organization, a content creator who might be doing or talking about the issue that you are wanting to work on, and dive in with a friend. It's easier when you go in it together. I don't know, that's just me. Community seems to be everything. And that way you don't feel like you're out there with such, the world's problems to solve. If you can focus on one thing at a time that you're really passionate about, sharing a personal story that you have that's connected to childcare or something like that, kind of rein it in, because I myself get really existential. We have a lot of issues to fix. We're talking about a lot of really big things here. And so find the people that are doing the things that you love. And also, we talked about this on the podcast, and I'll just share a little quote, and I don't remember who, someone will have to insert the name of the person here if we do any digital after this. But the idea that rest is resistance, and that along with what Jules said, doing something for yourself, you can't pour from an empty cup. I'm really not well practiced at this, but finding time to rest so that you can be a part of the movement, so that you can pour from your cup is so important.
You've heard that's helpful. Haven't tried it, but it's...
Meet me after the show if you have tips.
Big if true.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree with Kenz. I think that when you're showing up to these spaces, bring someone. At BLM, we always say, come and bring a friend, right? Because the more you know, right? But donating, right? Donate to Repro Fund. Let's fund abortions, right? With my so that's my Repro hat. My BLM hat says, come to our events, but not only come to our events, if your parents teach your children that different is okay, racism 100% starts in the home. And I'm learning that more and more as my children are entering public school. So have those conversations with your kids. I've noticed that New Hampshire is beginning to block a lot of things during Black History Month. So teach your children about more than just MLK and Harriet Tubman and Rosa Parks, because there are a lot of game changers out here that have paved the way for really all of us and me. We love allies, so come on over and be an ally.
Oh my gosh. We're so grateful for these three experts. And the whole point of our podcast was that nobody knows absolutely everything. And we really wanted to get to listen to folks who know so much. And one thing that Ken said when she came on the episode was, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Somebody is already doing it. Find them. And so that's really a big reason why we want to do this, is because being in community is the only way we're going to be able to move forward. And so we really want to and are excited to be in community with all of you. And our amazing other guests that are here in the audience, and future guests that I will be speaking to.
Exactly. So any kind of memories that you guys, had some crazy experiences this year? This was much different. I think some of the conversations we've had specifically about how in the State House things are very different. I think in the activism world broadly, like it's just with what you're up against, it's much different. But then also, how has the community shifted? Are you seeing people show up in a different way than they have in the past? I'm curious if anyone has thoughts on that.
Can I take this first one?
Go for it.
All you. No, girl, no, this is us. If there's anything I say, it's like together, right? We're doing this together.
If you guys follow Kenz, you know that she's doing huge things at the State House. So a round of applause for her just in general, please. Because Momnibus 2.0, I mean, we all contributed, but this girl ran that ship, and she got that ship passed, so.
A lot of people in this room did. I'll share the love, okay, I need a reminder of the question again, because I just lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
Obviously this year was different. Did we lose me? Thank you, babe. The hot audio guy is my
Thanks,
husband,
Frank.
so that's Frank. But what was, this year was very different, obviously, for a lot of really challenging reasons, but it also feels like people are participating in a way that's different before. Are you guys seeing that as well from your side? Are you getting more interest? Are you seeing more calls coming in? Like, tell me more about how that's changing.
I haven't had a year like this ever. I've never been to an event like this ever. I've never known people by name from online ever. And we've started talking about really big issues like budget and revenue. And for the first time, I've seen droves of people showing up to the State House, even during times when it's not, we're working and people are busy and they are still showing up on the Saturday rallies. And there are so many moments I could point to this year where there was a 15-week abortion ban, and it was like, everyone call, we got rid of that. Then it was defund the state library, everyone called, and we got rid of that. And it's just one thing after another.
Can you talk about that 15-week abortion ban too, just from the lens of I feel like that was kind of a moment, correct me if I'm wrong, where it was sort of like, wait a second, what's going on? Like, why are there tens of thousands of people writing in? Like, was that kind of like a moment?
My repro friends in the room. Yes, that was a moment. I think, you talked about this the other day, and I laughed. I'm so sorry. I laughed hysterically at your friend who was having an existential crisis about lawmakers.
Gina's in the house. Who saw the Gina video?
Gina went viral, everyone.
We are all Gina. So Gina was having a moment after she learned that lawmakers only earn actually only $100 a year, right? And so shout out to Representative Wade, Representative Boschman. Don't spend it all tonight, y'all. Don't spend it all tonight.
Buy your reps a drink.
Yeah, seriously, buy them a drink. But anyway, so there's 400 representatives, there's 24 state senators, there's an executive council. We're the only state in the nation that has a body like that. It means that our governor is more weak than other governors. And because of that, that means that we have people who can put in legislation about anything, about, legalizing the ownership of squirrels and things, and also 15-week abortion bans that we weren't thinking about. And so I don't know. I again look to my repro friends in the space. Cam, like, feel free to share, but I'm not sure the amount of people who are signing in against that legislation, if we would have had the organizing capacity to pull it together without social media. And for the first time, like, again, thousands of people who are finally able to sign in online against or for a bill, that technology has finally come to fruition in New Hampshire, thank God. And so we were able to use that, that moment there. But what do you think, Cam?
Yeah, I was asked a lot during that period by Planned Parenthood. I do a lot of abortion slams for them, to share some testimony. I just didn't have the capacity at the time. But it's also, I find the strength in telling my abortion stories. I think it's healing for me in some ways. But sometimes to think that the government really wants to control women's bodies this way is just kind of beyond me. My thing is just kind of like, we don't know what the reason for the abortion is. It really doesn't matter what the hell the reason is for the abortion, but if the person needs the abortion and it's within limits, right? Like, why the fuck would we say that you can't have an abortion? I actually just came across this with a friend of mine who suffers from PCOS or endometriosis. I can't really remember which one it is. I should know because she's my friend, but I don't. And she went to her PCP appointment, and it was a routine annual screening, and they did a pregnancy test. And she said, quote, "If I'm pregnant, I'm going to cut all you bitches off," or something like that to them, right? And she couldn't remember the last time she had her period. And she just texted me, and she said, "I'm pregnant." And I said to myself, get the fuck out of here. Because we know she doesn't want to be a mom. And I don't hold that against her. I have 4 kids. She wants to be a rich auntie. So be it. But after she didn't text me back when I said, get the fuck out of here, I realized something was wrong, right? So I called her, and she was in tears. And she said, "I'm pregnant." And I said, "Well, how far along?" And she said, "Oh, by the blood test, they think, like 8 weeks or something." And I said, "Okay, so what is our plan?" And I joked with her. I said, "Do you think you want to keep this?" And she said, "You're a terrible abortion doula, and they should fire you." And I said, whatever we got to do, we'll figure it out, right? Well, she then went to have the abortion or get the pill, and she was 14 weeks pregnant. And she couldn't do it. So she was distraught. And she called me, and she was like, "I've been drinking a bottle of Pinot Grigio all day. Like, that's what the baby has to be, a Pinot Grigio." And I again said to her, I said, "Do we want to think about it?" And she said, "No, I'm pretty, determined on this." And, her mom's a Trump supporter, very heavy Trump supporter. And her mom was saying, it's totally fine if you want to have an abortion. But I said to myself, well, that's not what you were talking about on Facebook 3 months ago. And I thought to myself, this is what they get. And that was really bad for me. But I was like, but this is what happens when people are so sure about the law, and they want this, and they want this terrible man in office who encourages states to put a 15-week abortion ban. But then someone like your daughter gets pregnant, and she doesn't want a child. And now you're like, oh, this law is for me. It's incredible to me. I kept my thoughts to myself because it wasn't the time. She ended up having abortion. We're fine now. We've moved on. I separated myself at that time, and it was only just because it's hard for me to wrap around that this is really what the world is like. Like, this is really who's in office, and this is really what states want. And I don't know. I've said it earlier. I would not be where I am today without my abortions. I actually shudder at the fact of what kind of parent I would be. I think I'd have a kid that was like 15. I don't know what the fuck I would be doing. Probably not this. And I think their dad would be dead because I think he is dead. So it doesn't matter. It would have sucked.
Keeping it real.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's get
He's fucked over and he's dead. So
Let's get
it's
personal.
fine.
Getting real, guys. I'm putting the notes away. This is we're just going to get really personal.
We've gone off script at
Yeah,
this
it's fine. We're done. Let's go.
You guys did say you wanted to do like a semi-dating game.
I know, right?
Who's your dead baby
That
dad?
one's on TikTok.
took a turn I was not expecting. I will say that.
Leave it to me to do that. BLM is not surprised by this if they're watching this at some point. They know this is where I go.
Can I answer this question?
Yes, please do.
So, 2 things. I think one of the most significant changes in the last year, really, I mean the last couple of years, but really this past year especially, is that trans and gender nonconforming people have become a powerful political constituency in the state of New Hampshire, specifically because of the work of Lynn Jakehouse, Alice Wade, all of the people at 603 Equality and all the fabulous people who support them. It has been an honor and a privilege to see that happening and to be a small part of it as a trans person who does advocacy work. I think that is really, really, really important. The other thing is I think we are starting to see the emergence of disabled people, and I'm going to use a term that I'll explain, politically disabled people, meaning not people who have a disability because they have bad politics. People who are disabled who live by the principles of disability justice, which necessitate that we do not leave anyone behind, that we do not say that anyone is too disabled to have rights or too disabled to have independence or too disabled to live the life of their dreams. So politically disabled people, there is an emergence of that political constituency in New Hampshire. And we have seen, some pretty cool direct action take place over the course of this year. We've seen, turnout for various pieces of legislation that impact the disabled community, unlike we have seen in the past. And so I think that's a change that I'm hoping continues trending in that direction. And, I think a lot of times people think, oh, well, I have a mental health disability, or I have a chronic illness, or I have this, but I'm not really disabled, or I don't want to take up space in a disabled space. We need all of you. If you are someone who, the legal definition of a disability is if you have a functional limitation that impacts one or more activities of daily living, if you have something that changes the way that you live your life, you are welcome in our community, and we need you.
I got that.
Yeah.
Right, we all do, right? 100%. I'm thinking of 3 as we're sitting here talking.
Yeah, and I mean, that's not to flatten the experience of disability or to say that everyone is a little disabled, because that's simply not true. There is a threshold, but I think that more people meet that threshold than they think. And so I really encourage people to read about the 10 principles of disability justice, go out there and read work from disabled authors, disabled podcasters, disabled scholars, disabled cripples about town like me. It is really important that we get more people engaged in disability as a political identity, so that, in the words of my colleague Myra Goldblum-Hay, who has an amazing organization called Disability Culture Lab, we can shift the narrative around disability from one of pity and charity to a narrative of liberation and solidarity.
One quick follow-up question. You mentioned some interesting direct action type work that took place this year. Anything that you want to talk about specifically? Any interesting stories you're comfortable discussing here in front of a crowd of 70 of your closest friends?
Do you want me to talk about the time I went to jail?
Only if you're comfortable. Oh. I realized I forgot to ask you to make sure that was cool.
We all forgot about that.
So,
I certainly did.
I want to start by saying that, and this isn't a slight against you or anyone in this room, I want to start by saying that I think a lot of white people specifically think of getting arrested as part of direct action as this fun, sexy, cool thing.
It's not cool.
It's not cool.
It's not cool.
It's
you don't see black people doing it.
Right. And I have to acknowledge that I did not, myself and the 2 other people who were arrested, did not make the choice to engage in direct action with the intention of being arrested. We engaged in direct action with the intention of having our demands met, and because those demands were not met, the situation with security in the State House and the state police who showed up escalated to the point where they arrested us. So, TLDR, we went to a committee of conference meeting, which is like something that happens towards the end of the state budget process, where some people from Team Senate and some people from Team State House get together, and they kind of hash out the differences in their various versions of the budget bill, and they kind of reconcile those things before it goes to the governor's desk and she decides what the hell to do with it. And so at that committee of conference meeting, we showed up. We did a die-in, which is a tactic that I believe was innovated during the kind of like AIDS and queer liberation movement in like the 80s, 90s. It's a tactic to show the very real human toll that policy choices like devastatingly cutting Medicaid have on people, and the consequences it has is that it kills people. And so we chose to do a die-in, which basically looked like we showed up at the meeting. At a certain point, we all stood up. We went to the middle of the room. We laid on the floor and refused to move. And then we read stories from real-life people in New Hampshire who have relied on Medicaid, whose lives have been saved by Medicaid, who have been able to get sober, have families, find employment, stay alive because of Medicaid. And we did that for like, I don't know. The thing that I didn't anticipate is that when you're laying on the floor reading from a piece of paper, you can't really see anything that's happening around you. And because I didn't want anyone to interrupt me and stop me from what I was doing, I just had to keep talking. So I could have been there for 5 minutes. I could have been there for an hour. I have no fucking clue. I think it ended up being like 20, 30 minutes. Kenz was watching.
20 minutes, yeah.
Tweeting.
And then security came in and they were like, please get up. It's going to look so bad for us if we have to arrest 3 disabled people. Please don't make us do it. And we were like, well, these are our demands. Are you going to meet them? And they were like, no. And so we were like, okay, well, do what you got to do, Diva. And then the state troopers came and they were like, please don't make us arrest you. It's going to look so bad for us. And then they did, and then we went to jail for approximately 2 hours. We all got charged with a Class B misdemeanor, which is like the lowest charge that you can get for disorderly conduct. It was pretty orderly conduct. We were all lying on the floor. But, again, I really want to emphasize that, like, you do not plan an action like that and not have a plan for what happens if you get arrested. We were very lucky to have support from seasoned activists who had done direct action for decades and decades, who had had lots of experience with this. We had a whole game plan going in. Again, not because we intended to get arrested, but because we knew that because we live in a militarized, shitty police state, that was probably an inevitability. And so, TLDR, don't be reckless. Don't do it for the gram, but doing direct action, doing civil disobedience, doing direct action that results in arrest or legal consequences is a part of the continuum of advocacy, and sometimes it is necessary. We deemed it to be necessary in this case, so we did it, and I got a tattoo of the very hungry caterpillar that I'm calling my prison tat because I got it the day after I got out of jail. The end.
It seems to me like you're a ride or die at this point. That's what it looks like to me. It's a ride or die. And now it's tatted, so.
Oh my gosh. As we're wrapping up this portion of our event, I just wanted to say thank you so much to our 3 incredible guests. Please, keep track of the amazing work that they're doing, and I encourage you to come chat with them afterwards. We do have little note cards with some prompts on it over here if you want to fill one out and leave it for us. We would love to hear your thoughts. And
I have one last call to action for everybody. Let me review my notes. Okay, so when Emily and I were brainstorming for this event, we're like, it would be great if there was like one thing we could ask everyone to do that's quite literally a one quick thing, and there is. So again, shout out to Lynn's Jackhouse over there. Yes, with 603 Equality. They're doing some incredible work, and right now, Lynn, do you want to come up here? You want to just come up and do it yourself? I'm really, come on up. I was like, I'll do a shitty job of this. Linz, give us our one quick thing for the day. Welcome. Here you go.
Hi, I'm Linz. I use they, them pronouns, and I am the founder of 603 Equality. Governor Ayotte has 2 very bad bills that are on her desk right this second as we speak, and she has to decide whether to sign or veto them. by Friday of this week. So this is really urgent. So if you want to take a little video of this, post it wherever you have my permission, or to like remind yourself for later.
Look at all these phones coming out.
Everybody take out
All of the phones are coming out. This might be your viral moment.
Governor Ayotte's phone number is 603-271-2121. So easy to remember. You can also like plug it into your phone.
Say it one more time.
603-271-2121. Healthcare is a human right, and everyone, no matter how old they are, has the right to decide what is right for their own bodies and their lives. And Governor Ayotte needs to veto 2 bad bills that would take away the right to gender-affirming health care from trans young people under the age of 18. So she needs to veto HB 377 and HB 712. HB 377 would ban puberty blockers and hormones for trans young people who haven't yet started them. And HB 712 would take away the possibility of having any gender-affirming surgery if you are a teenager in New Hampshire. Please tell like 5 of your friends, like 10 of your friends, I don't know, 20 of your friends, post it online, make it go viral. Really, really important. We pulled off a win getting an Ayotte to veto the bathroom ban and a book ban a couple weeks ago, thanks to really hard work. Ken's also worked super hard on that book ban. BLM did as well. And so we know that when we call in numbers, sometimes it really does have an impact. And no matter what happens, no matter what Ayotte decides, we need to keep fighting to protect trans kids. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Linz. So again, that's on Friday. Kelly Ayotte has till Friday to veto. So please call. Today's Tuesday. Call tomorrow. If everybody here, could you all just like raise your hand if you're going to call Kelly Ayotte tomorrow?
On my honor, I will try to do my best to call Governor Ayotte every day of this week until the bill thing happens.
Amazing.
Can I just say this?
Yes.
When I'm thinking about trans kids and the things that are going on with them, if you have friends, right? If you have friends that are on the fence about this, please just ask them this question. Can you imagine waking up in a body that doesn't feel like yours? That alone has done numbers for me, but when I think about all these puberty blockers and stuff like going on, I just can't imagine waking up and being in a body that's not mine, and then having somebody say, well, this is the body that you were given, so this is what you have to be.
Imagine getting Freaky Friday with the worst person you know and you just have to live with it. Zero.
Any last minute, and as we're doing last minute calls to action, anything from any of you guys that you want people to take with them tonight before we wrap up? Any words of wisdom, silly quotes, or just anyone want to show off a tattoo? Anything? Any final words of wisdom?
Donate to all of our orgs. Yes. Show up at the Black Excellence Gala if you feel like it in October. Come to our maternal health conference next February. Ken should be there, and so she always brings the heat, so come for that reason alone.
Don't just come for me. Come for us working on the issues together. That's what you should come for. I'll just share, again, you don't have to do it alone. And the scary fucking thing, the reality is that, we are the adults now in the room, folks. If you are waiting for someone to save the day, they ain't coming. It's us. So if not now, who? If not now, when? Let's do this shit together. And I'm really excited about how we continue to pull these groups together and make an actual difference where people are getting their voicemails completely full and they can't stop hearing from us and they're so fucking annoyed when they say things like, go pick berries. We're going to hear about it and they're going to hear about it because together we can make some noise and actually make change.
So as our healthcare infrastructure crumbles, especially for those who are most unable to access care through traditional means because they're uninsured or underinsured or they don't have access to equitable healthcare for all kinds of reasons, we have to take care of each other. And that doesn't just mean doing performative stuff. It means really committing to helping people in your immediate community who need help, whether that's shoveling an old person's driveway who can't get out because the city isn't doing it, or giving a neighbor a ride to the pharmacy because there's no public transit where we live and they don't have a way to get there. Really seeking out people and experiences that are different from yours and listening to them about the type of support they need and how you can help to provide it, not for them, but with them, is gonna be how we get through this. If you would like to see my tattoo of a tarantula and a bearded dragon with cowboy hats on, or if you would like to ask me questions or buy me a drink or ask me on a date, I'll be outside after this.
On that note, thank you guys so much for coming out. We'll all hang around for a while. Let's all chat. Meet your neighbor in the spirit of the event. Say hello. And thank you guys for coming. We'll do more of these. And I appreciate seeing all your faces here. So thank you so much.
And thank you to Marissa and Emily for doing this podcast and having this space and being really cool and awesome.
Y'all are the coolest.